Welcome to Brand Lover, honest, real and lively conversations for flourishing entrepreneurs and budding business owners on a mission to cultivate a heartfelt brand that connects with their purpose-driven mission. My hope is that you walk away feeling inspired and refreshed with a weekly takeaway in your back pocket that you can apply to your life or business. Jo Edgar is a mum of 3 and an Australian primary school teacher of 10 years. She left her career in teaching to run her business, Mrs Edgar, which I'm sure a lot of our listeners will have heard of that name before, full-time. Incredible. So Mrs Edgar is well known among the teaching community for being the place to go for teacher planners, stickers and more, and we'll explore that more soon. I'm excited. So welcome, Jo. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thanks, Rachel, and thanks for having me on your podcast today.
It's absolutely my pleasure. I know how busy you are, so I appreciate your time. I would just really love to hear about Jo. Jo Edgar, not Mrs Edgar. We would just love to hear your story, you know, how you started, how Mrs Edgar was born, and how it's all sort of transpired.
Yeah, story. I think way back when, before I had children, when I was still teaching full time, I was on a site called Teachers Pay Teachers, which is still around, and it's a digital platform for teachers to buy interactive PDFs that they can use in the classroom, lesson plans, resources. And so I was on there creating essentially PDFs for teachers that they could use to help them in their day-to-day classroom teaching. Mm-hmm. And one year I just thought I would make a digital planner, which is a printable, I should say. And this came about just because everything on the market at the time was very black and white, very generic, a bit bland. And I wanted something a bit that reflected teaching a bit more, in a sense that it was joyful, fun, colourful, inspiring. And so I went about creating a printable for teachers and putting it on Teachers Pay Teachers, which is, like I said, the online marketplace. And that year it was really popular, and so I thought we would get our first print run done of just 500 planners. We have a really good friend, Rio, who runs a print company, or is a manager of a print company here. And so she helped me get my first print run started with a batch of 500, and they sold out.
Wow.
But, you know, before the end of the year. And so the following year we had doubled, and we again sold out well and truly before Christmas. And it just kind of snowballed from there. And in the meantime, I was still teaching at this time, and I had Lockie, my first child, who was just a baby when everything was kind of taking off. Mm-hmm. And eventually the planners became so popular that the business was starting to run me. And I had to leave and essentially run it full time. And that was last year. In this time, I've had 2 children, pregnant with my third. I've left teaching to run the business, and just being at home with my 3 children and still trying to run this full-time thing was a bit of a mission. Yeah. And so now this year my husband's taken work off indefinitely to help run the business as well, as our children are still only very young. We've got almost 2, a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old. So everyone's still at home. Lockie still does 2 and then 3 days at kindy.
You're still in the trenches, Jo.
Yeah, it's a big part of me is being a mum at the moment, but also the other part is business life. But yeah, it's something I really enjoy, and something that has become me a little bit. I just love designing, and I love making products that will make other people feel inspired and happy. And so when you talk about me, that's not the business. Well, part of me is my business. I love it. And a big part is just being a mum, which I absolutely love. And that makes up my whole life pretty much. If we had a pie chart, it would be mum and business life and not much in between. So
I can totally relate to that. It's almost just becomes part of who you are.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's a beautiful thing, don't you think?
Yeah, it definitely makes my life feel complete. I really enjoy we're so lucky in a sense, like our business grew so much. We were running it out of an attic. Well, eventually we were running out of a garage to start with in this house that we had, and with an attic to store the planners up in. And then, each year we've exponentially grown, which has been like a challenge trying to keep up with the growth.
Yeah.
And so lucky to have that challenge, in a sense that we're very grateful that we are growing so fast and that so many people are, wanting to have one of our planners or resources that we offer. But we built this attic, and then eventually we just couldn't fit anything else in. So we started looking for a warehouse, and here we are. I talked to you inside
Yeah.
our warehouse that is absolutely full of planners at the moment, which is
amazing.
Told me 6 years ago, and I just wouldn't have imagined doing what we're doing. So
yeah, it's such a short time ago, but when you really reflect and think of all that you've achieved, and including have 3 children in there, as well as birth this incredible business, it blows my mind. So congratulations.
Rachel.
I mean that from the bottom of my heart, like just to see the passion in you. And we obviously worked together recently, and I just really admire you and your passion, it's just your drive.
Those 2 ways, I'm in awe of what you do in your design work, and the fact that you're also doing a podcast and running courses is the next level. So
thank you. Isn't that funny how we all just sort of, whatever somebody else is doing, if it feels foreign to you, it really is awe-inspiring. And it's part of the reasons I started the podcast was to keep inspiring each other and lift each other up, and women. And so thanks for that. I'm gonna keep going now, but that was lovely. So this is my first really deep question, and probably a really obvious one, especially after hearing all that you've achieved in such a short amount of time. What do you say to people who ask you, how do you do it all? Because I'm sure that you hear that all the time.
Yeah, I get that. And you're so lucky, and I want to do that. And I think you have to start somewhere. And I think for me, obviously you don't just jump from a startup to something full blown like this, where you've got staff and you're managing a warehouse. And, when I started, it wasn't even, it was just a small little snowball that just kept growing to something huge. But I think at the start, you just, you learn as you go, and every year you're expanding on that learning, and you're growing, and professionally you know how to cope with each year because you're growing. And so you kind of learn as you're growing, and that, I guess, everyone starts somewhere. So when you do start, this hasn't just all come by luck or by 7 years of learning it's taken to get here. So how do I do it all? It comes down to just being a gradual process. Every year I've just learned, and you build on that, and you have to adapt to. It's like I said, I'm not running the business. I feel like it's running me. So I'm trying to keep up with the learning and making sure that we've got systems in place that work with our growth. At the beginning, we definitely didn't have all the things we have now in terms of being able to outsource and have staff. And so you just kind of grow with your business, and start like one foot in front of the other, and just keep walking or running. Where it goes in that
sprinting.
Sprinting. Which is me at the moment.
Totally. And I think that's important to remember also for the ladies who are at the beginning of their journey, who are in that almost overwhelming. It's overwhelming to see someone like you, perhaps, who is where you are, and think, I could never do that, but it's because, and you hit the nail on the head, because you've been able to just take that one step at a time and learn what you needed to learn at that time to get you to the next step. It's not just like you just skip that whole phase and here you are, like, oh, here you go, here's this amazing thing, deal with it. And I think that's really
so caught up in comparing, like, oh, this is there and I'm not there. And I think you've just got to put that aside and look at your path and actually map out what you want to achieve. And even if it's just a 6-month plan, and really get clear on what your business is about, what's your target audience, what's your mission, what are you wanting to achieve, what's your niche, how are you going to offer something that people actually want, and how are you going to help others. And I think that kind of steered me in the right direction in my first years. It's like really getting clear on what I was doing this for and who I was going to help and how I was going to help them and how is my business different from other businesses out there. And I think when you have that really clear intention, then it becomes so much easier just to take those next steps and, you know, this is exactly what I want to do. And now I can actually action some things around those clear intentions. And I think you've got to forget about comparing yourself to everyone else, because only you are in your business and it's something that you run, and it's going to go at your own pace, because some people might have all the time in the world to run something, but if you don't have that time, like for me, I was like, oh my goodness, people are way ahead of the mark, but I was sitting here with 3 kids. I feel like I got my feet in cement, but you take one step every day, it's 365 steps closer to the finish line, or, you know, the next thing.
The next thing. Oh, I love that.
Me, the one thing that always comes true to me is get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because it's hard taking risks, but if you don't take them, you're sitting on your hands and nothing's happening. So you might as well take a risk and just don't be scared to fail.
Yeah, that's it. Don't get caught up in the outcome.
Yeah.
Because there's a lesson, even if it doesn't go how you hope it will go, there's always a lesson to be learned that's going to actually take you towards whatever it was that you had set out to. I think that's thank you for sharing that, because that's so important, isn't it? And I think everyone needs that reminder.
Yeah, for
every
sure.
now and then.
Even me, like I'm still bundled up in failures here. Like things aren't.
Yeah.
This has been a bit of a rocky road this year, but if you don't push through it, you know, then nothing's really. This is why successful businesses work, because they just get past their failures and keep growing from it and use it as lessons. And you'd be ignorant to think that, you know, you get 10 years down a business and your business is booming, that you still don't have hiccups and failures.
Yeah. Yeah, wrong. Exactly. Even though it may seem that way from the outside.
Yeah, for sure.
So just on that, like you mentioned that you've had a crazy busy year. But how do you balance, prioritize, or shall we say integrate family life, ensuring that your kids get quality time with you and keep your marriage healthy?
This is still something I'm struggling with, if I'm being completely transparent. I think this is the first year and I'm so grateful that Hugh has been home full time. So it's been like Hugh and I are still trying to find our feet with balance. Like I don't think that even exists balance. You know, there's some times where I really need to just work, and Hugh's kind of finding it hard, obviously adjusting to leaving his career to be a full-time stay-at-home dad. So definitely would be lying if I said it's been smooth. It is a hard thing to do, but at the same time, we've put in a few things, like we've now got a family calendar, and it sounds crazy, but we actually schedule time where we have family days. We actually schedule time where we have, you know, times where I don't work and I should go out with the family, or we'll put the time so that I've got a half day with the kids, because as much as I prioritize work, I also I really love spending time with my kids, and I do miss that. So we do work, like I found the family calendar was a really good one. So most Sundays, Hugh and I will just sit there and plan what our week's going to look like. And I'll say, like, do you have anything prioritized in your life? Because, you know, sometimes Hugh's looking after his mum who's unwell, so that becomes a priority. And it might be that the kids have appointments. So we do schedule all of those things in. And obviously, like, our kids come first and then work is second. So we make sure we communicate. I think, like anything, even whether or not you have a business or not, communication is key. And so, yeah, Sunday tends to be our day where we map out the week, get the family calendar. We've both got this app. Don't even know what it's called. Maybe it is called Family Calendar. But we can see ahead our schedules. And, yeah, we try to stick to them as much as we can. And weekends are strictly work-free. I've learned over time to shut off my socials and my emails after 5 o'clock, because that, you know, you've got to set boundaries in a business. Otherwise, it can overtake your life. And I know when you're starting up in your first few years, you can feel like you're running your business 24/7, but you've got to also remember that you don't want to burn yourself out. And the best way to run a business is to make sure that you are giving yourself what you need first and foremost before you run yourself into the ground, and put up some really clear boundaries. And I think, yeah, communicating and scheduling and using a planner to
Wow. What an epiphany, a planner.
And here I am using a family calendar.
I love that. It's perfect. It's so aligned. It makes complete sense. And yeah, I love all of that. And it's because in those early years, I think it's easy to get addicted to your business. And so it comes to that point, if it is taking over your life, it becomes really hard to put boundaries in place. And it's so tempting to just check the emails, isn't it?
And I also think, like, when you are in the first years, it is harder because you might not have the funds. That we didn't have the funds to like have a virtual assistant running the emails, or wanted to keep your customers really happy. But I also learned along the way that customers are happy if you've got boundaries in place, and they, I think at the end of the day, you do need to set some really clear boundaries, even if you are in a startup, because I know you can get carried away and it becomes a real passion at the time, but you can also get burnt out without even realizing that you're heading that way, without resting and shutting off your computer and devices and doing something you actually like outside the business as well, and actually finding some other hobbies that aren't just business related, because most of us will do a business because it is our hobby, but it's important to take a step away from it and have some clarity, and that can also help you be better in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. It all feeds in, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I would love to explore your product suite, because you said that you started with the printable planner. And I know that you've got a range of other products now that complement the planner, and you have different types of planners. So I'd love to know how you so intuitively understood your customers in a way that leads on to the next product.
Yeah, so customers to me are paramount to a business, any business, because without them, your business isn't going to run. So I think it's really important to listen to your market, listen to your customers. And so one way we do that is by putting out surveys every year to say, like, how did you find this product? What would you like to see more of? What didn't you like? How can we improve? And asking those questions that might seem uncomfortable to hear the answers, but unless you're willing to take on their feedback, you can't improve. And if you don't consider their feedback, then they're going to go elsewhere to a brand that is listening. And I feel like, to ask customers are fundamental. Like we try to have such a really special relationship with our community, in a sense that we want everyone to feel really happy. And a part of our refund policy is like, if you're not happy, let us know. Like, we're not going to say no to if you want to swap, but we want to know how we can improve. And I think really being open to feedback, constructive feedback, and sometimes harsh feedback, is the way to really get uncomfortable and grow. And I think also, I listened to so many podcasts, and part of that was really listening to and I think being in business is really important to listen to people who have a lot of experience. Even now, I'm still listening to podcasts actively, doing courses actively to really learn. And I think the reason we started expanding, one was customer feedback. Two was really understanding that if you've got a product that is really, really popular, one way of expanding your growth is by introducing products in the same alignment. So we've got a weekly planner, so then we've introduced a daily planner to reach different audiences, but still in your target customer range. And also complementary products, so sticker books, anything for us as a teacher stationery store. Those were really helpful products for our consumers. And another thing I learned from a podcast was bringing out a cheaper version of your product, so that it's accessible for one, and two, you're able to give your customers an entry point to buying something that's not too expensive, but they can also get a taste of the quality and what they can expect if they. So, for example, we've got a sticker book that's hundreds of pages, but hundreds and up to thousands of stickers. But now we offer sticker sheets, so they can just get a sampler, and they're only like a fraction of the price of our sticker book. So that was a big piece of advice, is just offering, if you've got a hero product, offering a cheaper entry point if it's quite expensive, or if it's out of reach to some people, or people that don't know your brand might just want to get a taste of the quality. And also offering a variety in the same kind of category. So those three things really helped us develop products, and also listening to current trends, like in education. We went online for a period of time with coronavirus. So one way of, not always selling, offering free resources for teachers. So we had some free PDFs, which are still available on our website, for teachers that are online learning, that might have like little lockdown journals for kids and things like that. So, really listening to the current climate as well, and being able to pivot when things aren't working, and saying, well, let's try this. And that's product development has come, in a sense, from all of these things. And so another thing I wanted to talk about was really getting into your community and getting some feedback. So we created a record keeper, which is an assessment book for teachers. And the only way we were able to really construct this record keeper was by getting feedback by teachers, because obviously I'm out of the profession now, but also I also wanted to gauge whether what I thought was validated. So having other teachers in the Facebook group was a really good way of, we only had a small group of, I think, 8 ladies, and we would just regularly chat about pages in the record keeper and why we'd have them in or what parts we wanted to adapt. So we were on there quite regularly for a period of about 4 months before the record keeper was actually made. So without that feedback, it just wouldn't be what it is today. And to know that there's a whole group of us, all educators, that constructed this record keeper, it really validates that we've got a product that teachers will potentially really enjoy using and find really helpful and practical. Yeah, another way of tapping into product development is actually getting your community on board and really validating what they're saying and their feedback, and using it to create products for exactly your target audience, which is part of your community anyway.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much, because you can't go wrong. Like, it may take a little bit extra time, and it might be a little bit damaging to your ego, but that's all that is so hard, isn't it? But it's all moving in the right direction, because at the end of the day, to serve at your highest, best level, you really need to know who you're serving and what they need.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so I'm just wondering, I might be being a little bit, I don't know, of a sticky beak perhaps, but has there ever been a time where you felt so overwhelmed with how big everything was getting that you just wanted to give up?
All the time. It's funny. For me, I saw just recently that really resonates with this question. It was, I can't even think now, just my thoughts are going everywhere. It was like, oh, the business is doing well, it's the best, and I love my business, and this person was skipping and hopping and jumping, and then like it only took like one, oh, I don't like your product, to be like, I hate my business, I'm done with it. And it's very true. It can be really easy to take like one comment or one fall to really just want to give in.
Yeah.
And because your business is so personal, like you build it from the ground up, you put your blood, sweat and tears into it, and so when even one comment or one thing going wrong can really, really hurt it, because it's like your baby. So definitely, like from day one till even now, sometimes I just, oh my God, it's too much, I can't deal, and it's overwhelming, and it is. A business is so hard to run. I think from the outside and from looking into a business, you can think, it's so easy and it looks great, and you get this time off and you get to do what you love all day and you get your own schedules, but behind the scenes it's really hard to manage, and there's a lot of learning for anyone in terms of knowing what to do, and if something's going to work, or a tax even, and bookwork and paperwork, and so I think a lot of the times, and that comes back to what I was saying previously, like if you let one hiccup get in the way of moving forward, then that's the difference between your business succeeding or failing, in my opinion. I really think if you can't let one hardship really put you back, you've just got to use it as learning. And we've had huge failures along the way. Like we've had one year where there was this cover that was just all wrong, and I had to just be honest with my community and say, I don't love it, the colours are flat, and we didn't want to obviously recycle them, we wanted to give them away for a really good discount, and people still love them, but for me this is not what I wanted. And we've had boxes of planners arrive damaged, and we've had customers that have been unhappy at points, and we use it to get better, and the boxes are damaged, we just won't have many in stock, but we can sell them at a discounted rate, or we have a customer that says something bad, well, let's listen to them and provide them with the best service we can. Let's offer them a refund, but we'll offer them something that will entice them to come back. And that's just one way of really just trying to get over the humps and hurdles, because if you don't do that, you're at a setback, and you really have to try to focus on everything that is working and how you can use the bad times to really grow from it. And if you don't do that, then your business probably isn't going to work. You really have to have a thick skin in business.
Yeah.
The reality is you are going to face some really challenging times, and quite often.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're going to come out of left field.
Yeah. And you think, this year I got it because I did everything.
Exactly.
All those mistakes happened last year. Now I know this year what I'm in for, but
That's it. You're like,
yeah,
it's that whole like, yeah, I'm doing so well. Everything's so great. Like everything's going smoothly. How can anything ever, steal my vibe or whatever? And then it's just like, poof.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? Where did
Yeah.
that come from? And you're right. It's how quick you can get over that, learn the lesson, and then it's almost just like picking up that thing, whatever, extracting the lesson and then putting it in the goodness pile so that you can, and then that sort of attributes to everything that is going right again. Like as soon as you fix that, it's like adding another notch to your belt and off you go. But that sounds really simple. It is a really difficult thing to do. And you're right. It's probably, something that every successful business will have had to become good at.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like even for me, like things happen and it takes me like a few days sometimes just to get my head around. Like I always think now in terms of action that, yeah, it's upsetting. Yes, I feel hurt. Yes, I'm stressed, but I'm going to take some time away, even if it's my busiest point, and be more open to just having a bit of downtime to really get clarity. Because sometimes when you're in the thick of things and things are going wrong, sometimes the best thing is just to step away for a day or for a couple of hours or for a week if you need it, just to recharge and really get clarity. Because sometimes it just fogs your brain and your thinking, and you're not able to make rational clever decisions in that point. So
yeah, absolutely.
it is really understanding a lot of psychology in business too, because I feel like you really do have to know the point where things aren't going well.
So we're getting towards, this is probably one of my favorite questions that I have for you. If a woman was sitting here with us who had an idea for a product that she knew would change the lives of the people she designed it for, but had no clue how to start and was scared about investing, getting over that initial hurdle, what would you say to her?
I would say make a roadmap. Make a clear roadmap of how you're going to execute, because sometimes you can have an amazing product or service, but marketing it, which is a huge part of it, if you're not able to get that down packed, it can really ruin your idea taking off the ground. So I definitely say invest. If you're going to invest in anything, invest in courses and learning from people that are already in business. I know even if you didn't have the funds, there are free advice from the government. Like say in Western Australia where we have the business, the Western Australian Business Advisory, and it's run by the government, something like that. But basically they offer phone support. You can go in for meetings. It's all free. There are people that are experienced in business that can actually guide you. So it's a really good starting point. And also, like I said before, getting clear on who you're selling to, your customer avatar, or, how you're going to execute as well. So really having a clear plan of, yes, I've got this great product or service. Let's try it out. And the way I tried it out in mine was to put a printable out there and see if people actually really liked it. But is there like a small group of clients that you've got that you can test this? You've got, I was talking to my brother-in-law who's got a service-based business idea, and my suggestion to him, the same kind of position that you're talking about. And I was saying, why don't you offer, like, instead of going all out and starting this huge business and spending all your money on this idea, just a small portion of it and see if it is successful. Absolutely. It might just be that you do a half price or free outing or whatever you're planning to get into, and getting a customer testimonial first and seeing if it is going to work and test the waters that way, and then building it up slowly so that it's not like, because I think financially and time-wise, it can be a huge investment, but if you do it really carefully and get some feedback immediately from doing like a small sampler of it in some way, whatever your business is. For me, it was doing a printable and getting feedback that way, but for other people, it might be running a service for really cheap, just with a few clients, or
Yeah.
Start
Something that
really
doesn't
small.
require a lot of capital. You can
Yeah.
see if the idea is going to be validated and give you the confidence to take that next step.
Yeah, and really spending some time listening to people in business, and if it's calling one of those hotlines from your government that offer like free business support, that could be a really good chat to have as well with getting those first steps underway.
Yeah, that's such good advice. I think that's amazing, because I think that's something that's not advertised a lot. If you don't know about it, you won't be able to benefit from it. So that's such a good tip.
Yeah.
So Jo, what's next? What's next for Mrs Edgar?
We have some huge projects at the moment. We're actually currently developing a digital planner for teachers, which is developed by a software company. So that is a massive, massive project, and it's been going
huge
for a long time. And we plan to release it next year, but I feel like it's going to be pushed out because we really want to get it right. But that is a huge project, and that is next for us. I think, again, listening to our community, a lot of teachers do love planning hard copy, but there's a lot of teachers that really want a digital planner, or there are teachers that are global and want a planner that really suits their needs and their schedules. But our planner that's hard copy doesn't really, it's not really fitting in with their schedule. So a digital planner is going to offer that flexibility. So that's one thing that's on the cards.
It's one thing.
And eventually we want to offer courses. So there is a lot of, like, in my head, all these ideas, but not enough time in the day to execute everything, especially, trying to manage, the workload that's here already. But, it's all in the making, and there will be things coming up from us that will be exciting, I think.
Yeah, considering how you've come for the last 6 years, I'm 100% sure that we will be seeing big things from you. So, last question, where can we find you? Where can people come and say hello and have a little sneak peek at what you do?
Yeah, so our website is www.mrsedgar.com.au, or you can just book and everything else. But definitely say hi on Instagram. It's Mrs Edgar's class.
Awesome. So go and do that. Go and say hi to Jo. She's amazing. She's super friendly. Don't contact her on social media on weekends though, because she's all about the boundaries, which I'm like, yes, applauding. So good. All right, lovely. I just want to say thank you so much for your time today and sharing like so many golden nuggets. I think that you just were so generous in sharing your wisdom, and I'm grateful, and I know that the listeners will be grateful as well.
Yeah, thank you for your time, Rachel. You're also an inspiration to me, and it's such a privilege to be on your podcast today. So thank you.
Thanks, Jo. Catch you next time. If you loved listening to this week's episode, pretty please click subscribe so that you don't miss any future podcasts. Also, if you have just a minute, please feel free to leave a 5-star review wherever you're listening. I'd so appreciate it, and it will help spread this message further. Thanks for being here. I'll catch you next week.